Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassey, your host for the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. They're all big, but we have one of our big developers in Salisbury. Bret Davis is with us today. Welcome, Bret.
Thank you for having me.
So you've gotten my attention because you are buying properties downtown and restoring them, and you're not just making them pretty, you're doing some really dramatic work. Talk to me about what your strategy is for downtown.
Sure. So the goal with downtown is to bring back what it used to be, and then add a little bit of a modern touch to it. The thing that we started with is a concept that we need a lot of apartments, retail, and office downtown. You need all three to succeed. So what we're doing is trying to take that one step at a time. We have a ton of office space that's filled downtown, so we're at a low vacancy. Now comes residential, and once we have residential, our goal is retail. We think that with a nice combination of the three, we can bring back what it used to be.
That's cool. Now, residential is kind of a new element to this. People have talked about it for a long time. No one's really been able to act on it in a really progressive way, but you've got some great ambition.
Well, the goal being that now that people want to live downtown, and I think they've always wanted to live downtown, but with the north side pulling away a lot of the shopping, it made it tough. So now what we're trying to do is, with the creation of things like the Edison Lofts that we have coming on at the end of this month, Lot 16, we've got 36 apartments slated. We want to start bringing that draw back down south. The hospital's close by, so I think that we want to create a walking culture in Salisbury, or biking, but get away from everyone having to drive cars everywhere and the ridiculous concept that there's not enough parking downtown. We want to start moving away from that stuff, and residential is the key to having a thriving downtown.
Yeah, the mayor has always made the point that people don't, it's not like, hey, let's go to downtown Salisbury because they've got great parking. I mean, that's not the lure for downtown. There's much more that needs to be done.
Yeah, it's almost comical when people say that there's not enough parking. There's only a limitation if you are trying to park directly in front of the door you need to walk in. And I've never been to a city in this country where you park directly in front of the door. It's going to be a short walk, and if someone needs to be dropped off, the beauty of downtown is you can drop someone off at every front door, but you can't go and cause them to, you can't base that entire understanding of downtown around that idea.
And maybe it's because I lived in a city, but I hear people all the time, they're like, they say there's no place to park. I go, the garage is only about half full. Like on a busy day, there's room there in the parking garage. And they'll go, oh, well, I don't go into parking garages.
And I think that's something we've got to get away from, is when people say, oh, you have to pay to park. Okay, well, you don't have to pay to go to the mall, but that you're going into these stores that are large big box stores and you're paying twice as much. So I'd much rather shop local, save a little bit of money, and if the city makes $1 off of me today for parking, I think I can accept that.
Let's talk about each of your projects if we can. One thing, you're a big owner in One Plaza East, doing a lot of work there. Yeah,
so the old Wacomico Hotel, we were really fortunate. We bought a couple floors of it, and now we're majority owners in the building. We've got
that's a condo situation basically in that building.
It is. So it's a really unique one where commercial condo associations don't occur very often. This is one where each different business owner owns their own floor or segment of the building. We've monopolized and bought up almost all, but we're at about 90% ownership in the building. And so what we're doing now is we're adding an ice cream parlor and a high-end seafood restaurant on the first floor, and then we're also expanding what was the lobby so that there will be an actual front entrance to the building, which there hasn't been in 60 years.
Right. You've got a new entranceway there on Division Street, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
But the idea of having a restaurant in there and an ice cream place, that is a throwback to the old days.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, we say that the office space is where we make our money. Retail is where we help downtown. The ice cream parlor is something that we need downtown. I don't even really like ice cream, to be totally up front. That's not the point, though. The point is that when the family comes downtown and wants to walk around, and you're from DC and you've never been to downtown Salisbury, we want you to have another excuse to walk around. The restaurant, of course, is just going to be another step in the right direction of trying to bring a population density to downtown. And as a resident of downtown, I can tell you, we need a couple more restaurants, a couple more activities, and with the second project we're doing is the city center right now, which we're going to completely gut the building. We're adding a glass elevator to the atrium, and we've added 2 new storefronts on the plaza. We're aiming to have a third as well. And when I say storefront, I just mean having a door that you can walk down the plaza, and if you like what's inside, you can open that door and walk directly in.
Right.
It's amazing how many buildings don't have entrances that are easy access to the plaza. And so what we want to do is create that reason to walk down the plaza. Right now we've added 17 new businesses, and probably my favorite part is 14 of those businesses are female owned.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the city center, which is another new acquisition for you, a lot of people have gone in there and tried very hard to fix it. Bill Otis was the first redeveloper of that old Benjamin's site, and then he sold it. It kind of declined. He bought it back, tried to rejuvenate it, and it went into another ownership. Now you guys have it, and to me, it's always been one of those things like there's no secret to figuring out how to. No one knows how to fix this building and make it really viable. But you seem like you found a way.
Well, so I think that the problem was in the past people have looked to make it a second shopping mall.
Right.
That's not really what downtown is about. Downtown is not a shopping mall. So what we've decided to do is try and couple the idea of the first floor is retail. We were separating Rody Joe's from the rest of the building. Not that we don't like Rody Joe's. In fact, we were a big part in the revitalization of Rody Joe's. The goal being that we can create a retail element on the first floor, but then we're going to have mostly office on the second and third. And the issue that everyone's run into in the past is that the elevator was in terrible condition and the lobby was in terrible condition. So it was really tough to get office users to stay on the second and third floors.
Right.
So my goal is simply creating a really easy access to the upper floors and something to which the glass elevator will give you a aesthetic dynamic that will allow you to want to be up there. You'll want to have your customers come to your office space instead of right now. I'm terrified to have to bring somebody up to the second and third floors. Not terrified. I should say it's not exciting for me because it's not exactly the way I would want to show my business. And we have some office tenants in there that have been great and are giving us the leeway to do the renovations, and then later we'll be able to give them what they deserve.
There's kind of an atrium there, so there is some help in that in terms of getting light in and some space.
Absolutely. I mean, we are so lucky with all the buildings we have downtown. They were built amazingly. They've been maintained poorly. And that allows us to come in and do what is probably the easiest part of development. We're taking a great idea. Bill Otis did a great job of renovating that building. So I don't need to go in and rethink the world. I just need to create, I just need to polish what he had. And every 30 years you should be looking to gut or renovate a building because they're out of style. In One Plaza East, though, the perfect example is the first floor. We found 4 different ceilings. So there was a drop ceiling.
Right.
Then there was a old plank ceiling. Then it was plaster, and then there was another plaster ceiling above it. So every time somebody wanted to do a ceiling over the past 100 years, they simply just lowered it.
Right.
It was down to 8.5 feet.
Right.
We just knocked out all of it. Now we're at 16.5 feet for our restaurant. So to me, when I hear stuff like that, it's basically just do it right the first time. And I'm hoping we can set it and forget it once we do that.
Right. I've been down there in that basement, and I remember when it was like Jean Pierre when I was in high school, and we used to sneak in there and go to it was a dance club basically. But yeah, it was like being in a basement with all those drop ceilings. But it's a beautiful space. It's amazing down there.
I'm super excited. I think that once people see what that building has to offer, we're talking marble floors in the lobby, some chandeliers. We've raised the ceiling heights throughout the entire first floor. And then safety-wise, we're putting in sprinkler systems. We're putting in the grease traps. We're putting in the infrastructure, which was always supposed to have been there, but it just hasn't been because the economic viability wasn't there. And that's where we're kind of blessed is downtown. We've got a great mayor. We've got a great city council. We've got a very supportive government for the growth downtown. And they haven't had that in a very long time. So I tell people this is the one time in the past 100 years that I could actually do what I'm doing. And I happened to move to Salisbury at the perfect time. My brother is amazing. And then we've got the other young people downtown that are really pushing for it. Because my job is just to facilitate business. I don't really do much when it comes to post renovation. So the restaurant, we don't run the restaurant, but my job is to facilitate how to get the restaurant in there. Ice cream, I don't know the first thing about ice cream except for how to eat it. And so my job is to facilitate that person being able to have the opportunity. So I think that because we've got all this vibrant growth downtown, I'm excited for the next 6 to 9 months. We have a lot of projects wrapping up. We're putting in a lot of people into the buildings that weren't there. And probably my favorite part is that it's not who you would think. We rented out the Edison Lofts, and the first person...
Now explain to people where those are exactly.
Pardon me. Yeah. This, on the plaza, we have 235 Main Street. We've just added Lurking Class Skate Shop.
Right.
Has renovated. Their space is gorgeous. And then we have 4 new apartments above it. And the 4 apartments are considered luxury.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were working on this up there.
Yeah, we keep projects pretty quiet until we're close to the end, because in construction it's really easy to say, hey, we're going to do this, and then actually executing is the tough part. So we the first couple that signed a lease was a retired couple, and I got really excited at that idea because everyone says, oh, millennials moving downtown, oh, that's young. No, that's not what this is about. This is about the entire community finding this vibrant heart, and that's what downtown Salisbury is to me.
Right.
You should be able to walk around. You should be able to live there. You should be able to eat, maybe have a couple drinks, and then be able to shop and support your local community. When you walk downtown, the best part is that you don't ever see a frowning face. You see people smiling, and there's a vibrant culture down there. And if you look at it, I hate to say it, but thus far, not a lot has changed. There's a lot of growth, and there's a lot happening right this second. But if you look downtown, maybe 20% of the buildings have seen renovations.
Right.
But another 25% are under construction right now.
Right.
And those first 20% are tough to notice, but you can feel it. You can feel the culture changing downtown. When I go down there now, the fact that you can take a coffee shop, replace it with another coffee shop, but somehow the second one is thriving.
Exactly.
And
you're packed in there.
Yeah, all the time. And it's funny. It's like, wait, this should be the same concept, the same result.
Right.
No, far from it. You add a cultural element to it, and now they're thriving. So I think that's what we need downtown is just more of those people willing to take that one step and say, yeah, it didn't work in the past. Well, that's because they didn't have all of these elements going on. Apartments wouldn't have made sense 20 years ago. Now they start to make sense again.
Yeah, people would say, well, we'll put apartments in when they put a grocery store in. We need that first. No one's going to put a grocery store in until the apartments are there.
Correct. And so it is a giant catch-22. I'm glad you say that. So we're constantly struggling with this. What comes first? Well, we know what comes first is office, because a lot of our institutional companies are able to come in, and they're our backbone. That means I know I can get rent, because there's a very good likelihood that you put a bakery in, they can go out of business. Fortunately, what we've got is a lot of financial institutions, and so we know that that's our backbone. And so now we get to do the creative parts for downtown. Something that just happened yesterday that's really exciting is we're going to have our first server farm in downtown Salisbury. We are partnering up with Maryland Broadband, and we are going to be bringing in a hub for Maryland Broadband in One Plaza East.
Okay.
So that way we'll be able to start having just not just Comcast as a competitor for internet downtown. We're going to have 75 different internet providers coming downtown. We think this can spur a lot of tech jobs downtown, because now you can come into this, just One Plaza, for an example, will have every single type of fiber you could have in this area. The internet capabilities are going to be so fast and so robust that now we can start offering this and saying, how do we attract those tech people from Baltimore and DC? Well, we need to have a hub first. We need to have somewhere they can go. And we've never had that on the shore, and now we do. It
really is important.
Absolutely. And I think if there's one thing that people don't appreciate about the street renovations that are happening right now, it's that they're not tearing up asphalt and putting asphalt back. They're tearing up terracotta pipes. I mean, they're tearing up things that when you see them come out of the ground, it's terrifying to know they've been in there for so long. So I think
there were sewer pipes made of wood down there.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was an option. So I tell people, like, Yes, it's taking a while, but that's because that was what it was expected. I might be slightly biased as a developer, but I understand why the process is taking what it is taking. And they're getting ready to wrap up this most recent section. It's looking phenomenal.
That's
and
great.
It's amazing. There's two things I think we need that will change downtown more than anything, and one is light. You have to brighten up downtown. And
Yeah.
I've literally begged every business owner, if you have a business downtown, add a spotlight out front, add a spotlight out back, because crime doesn't happen in daylight. It does, but much more infrequently. People want to do, if you're going to commit a crime, it's a much more logical option to commit it in the dark.
Right.
No one is watching. So if we brighten up downtown, there is a natural tendency to decline, to have a decline in crime. And the second thing is we've got to have things for people to look at. And that's what the street renovations, the amphitheater, the river walk, and what we're trying to do aesthetically for our projects, and you're seeing it with a lot of developers downtown, is add something that someone wants to look at. People already look for an excuse to go downtown. I mean, I talk to every generation, and they want to be downtown. Well, let's give them an excuse for something to brag about. Let's put some public art. That's a big push we're doing right now with the Arts Council, is we're trying to raise some money to put a couple pieces of public art. I go through New York City, and I constantly can just walk from street to street doing absolutely nothing but looking at things.
Right.
And downtown Salisbury has some of the best architecture on the Eastern Shore, if not the best. I mean, we have such a blessing of buildings that are gorgeous, built with 10 times more expense than you would ever spend nowadays.
Right.
And so let's polish them up and let's give people a reason to just look at them. I don't need you to go shop at the stores. I need you to be down there. And once there's a vibrant amount of people, once there's a huge surplus of just bodies downtown,
Yeah.
retail will come, residential will come, office will come. It will all follow, but we need a reason for you to want to walk there.
Well, like the woodworking in the building that we were in downtown at 118 North Division is amazing and beautiful. That just all the wood
Yep.
that's inside.
Yep.
It's been painted over 1,000,000 times and everything. And I was doing the history column, and I was reading about the woodworking shop that was on the river forever that hewn all this amazing wood that came in from trees in Sussex County. And had these guys who were real craftsmen who made wood for inside buildings in Salisbury. People don't even know it's there, but it's beautiful stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's probably my favorite part of downtown is seeing that you've got this vibrant growth, but you've also got the history there. And we try and preserve it as much as possible. It's tough because there's been a lack of maintenance downtown for a generation.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, there's always exceptions to these rules. So I'm not trying to imply that every landlord downtown was a bad landlord, but there were so many vacant buildings. There's a natural, decline.
Sure.
And so things like when tearing out One Plaza, we discovered the original lobby ceilings. I mean, these are hand-carved plaster. You couldn't pay to have someone do these.
No craftsman exists anymore.
Yep, it doesn't. And so, unfortunately, first thing we discover is that in the 70s or 80s, they just took the HVAC and just ran it right through the ceilings. Just no care in the world. And so it was devastating because it's like one of those things that, man, if I could just show you what they look like.
Right.
Oh, again, you couldn't pay all the money in the world to have them done. But yet they're just trash. And so some things we're not able to salvage, but others, woodworking and the little aesthetics, that's what we need to bring back.
Yeah. So tell me about your plan for this lot 16 down by Avery Hall. There's, the amphitheater's there now. That's like a big focus of development. It's so pretty right there.
Absolutely.
What are you planning for that?
So lot 16 will be 36 apartments approximately. We're finalizing the drawings as we speak. So this will be a waterfront luxury apartments. The first floor will be parking, secured. So you'll come in and you'll key card into the parking. Then there'll be about 52 parking spaces, and then we're looking at 3 floors of residential with the top floor featuring a sky deck.
Wow.
We'll have like a common area, television, little, not wet bar, but some dynamic to where you can have a happy hour or something like that there.
Right.
And then a sky deck which will overlook the amphitheater. The goal being that when they do these great events, yes, we won't be facing the right direction, but you can go sit there and you can have a drink and enjoy watching the amphitheater. And the goal of this project is to allow for kind of the first real luxury apartments in downtown Salisbury. And I often hear people say, well, we need more low-income housing. And I think we need just more housing right now.
Right.
But because we need more low-income housing does not mean that we need to force every project to be low-income or to force every project downtown.
That's a prime spot in the city.
It is.
It is something that we really need to exploit.
Exactly. And I think we need a combination of all of this. So you can't just jump to one end. Salisbury can't just start building all luxury. It wouldn't make any sense. But right now, there is no luxury housing in Salisbury for rental properties. There is no luxury apartment complex.
I mean, the hospital's always all the time talking about trying to recruit doctors and the problems
Yes.
they have with that.
Yes.
You know, and if I have a choice, like, well, where am I going to live if I move here? You can live right there. It's a block away from the hospital.
Walk right
you don't
over.
have to live in the Deerdales and ride in the car all day.
Yep.
You have an urban environment that's also rural, right in a city.
Absolutely. And when you talk about needing to have a grocery store downtown or things like that, I think that those things will come down the road.
Well, and grocery stores now deliver the groceries to you.
Yes, yes. And honestly, we're going to have the bike share programs coming back to Salisbury. So to me, my thought process is we're going to have a lot of people working downtown. Well, let's have those same people be within walking distance. And when people talk about parking issues, well, one of our key concepts when doing this was we have to supply us more than one space for every person.
Right.
That way, we can make sure that you can leave your car in the parking lot in this building, and it will cost you nothing. And then you can go walk to work, or you can go to the hospital, or you can go to wherever your job is. Maybe use the bike share program, which is something I would love to see.
Right.
We'll leave your car there, and don't worry about the parking issues downtown, and don't worry about whether someone's going to scratch your nice car. So what we want to do is we're going to deliver a product that is slightly nicer than what Salisbury's used to, but we're not going to price ourselves out of this market. We don't want to have a apartment complex where it can't be afforded by the average person. So we're looking at about $200 to $300 more than every comparable in Salisbury. That to me seems like a reach, but it's not a stretch.
Right.
You know, we're hoping to have people that are not every person in there is going to be a doctor. And that's not what our goal is. But we're looking for even the recent graduates that say, hey, I've got a friend. Okay, well, you scrape together an extra $100 each. You're going to be able to live with a sense of luxury, and you're going to be in downtown. And as a resident of downtown, I can't tell people the ability to walk home from going to the restaurants or when I want to go work out, my workout is just run downtown. Just go run and look at all the cool buildings.
Yeah. And
we're within 5 minutes of every part of Salisbury. So I think that our goal with this project is to create a landmark for downtown. There's several other landmark projects going on downtown. The Marina, the Ross. So, and we are excited for all of them. Probably my favorite part about what's happening is everyone's got their own little niche. The Ross is student housing. Lot 16 will be considered luxury. The Marina is more of artisan style housing is I believe the description.
Right.
That means that none of those are stepping on anybody's toes. And also nobody has to feel like, oh, you're doing that project, we're competing. No, I'm actually really excited for those projects. I want them to break ground because that creates more foot traffic, and then that allows the restaurants. Right next to us is they're working on the beer garden. Don't know what will end up coming of that.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that.
I've seen some really cool renderings, and when I said I know they're going to move forward with the project, just haven't seen which actual rendering they go with.
Right.
Super exciting project. I think that's another dynamic for downtown. Just a neat idea.
But it's kind of a low maintenance thing. It's not like they're going to build a whole lot of stuff. I mean, it's going to be kind of almost transient kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think those are the type of things we need to have in downtown. And as much as we want to bring back the history, this isn't 1930. So it's okay to do new things. I think I see a lot of people that are worried that they're thinking that we're coming in and we're going to bulldoze everything, and that we're going to create this new mecca. No, that's far from the concept. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge what's going on in nowadays. It's something where if we're going to create a product that people want to see, it can't be rebuild the Wacomico Hotel identical to the way it was.
Right.
That's not. There were no HVAC systems. There was so many things lacking.
Right.
Okay, well, let's accept that there is change. But that change needs to be progressive, but it needs to also acknowledge the past. So,
Hey, you personally, successful guy, you could live in a big house on the river, but you have an apartment downtown.
oh, you could never force me out of downtown. I love being downtown. I think that, to me, it's the cultural center of Salisbury. Uh, no question, the north side is the shopping center of downtown. And then you've got the school on the south side. But whenever anybody says, I want to go somewhere in Salisbury, I very rarely hear people say, let's go walk at the mall.
Right.
And that's not a knock on the mall, but people just genuinely want to be downtown. And so I sip my morning coffee and sit on my rooftop deck, and I just get to watch downtown and see the progress.
You're in the center of it, Division and Main. You are right there.
Oh, I'm right there, and I wanted to thrust myself into the middle.
Yeah.
It's for me, goals are a big thing, and so being able to wake up every morning and say, my goal is to renovate that hotel, and my window looks at it. So
Look
I
at
made
the hotel
sure,
and the courthouse. Yeah.
yep, my bed I made sure is facing that building. So every morning I open my blinds and I go, that thing still doesn't look the way I want it to.
Yeah.
I've got to go change that, and that's kind of been the approach of a lot of people downtown. Some of these projects don't make viable sense, and that's where people are. It's frustrating for me. People say, Brett, why didn't you just do this, this, or this? Well, as much as I want downtown to succeed, if it's not economically viable, then we're just kidding ourselves. And so each month we're seeing it become more economically viable. There's been more buildings changing hands in the past couple of years than I would guess has happened in decades. And the turnover has been really cool because the Bill Oddises of the world, the Palmer Gillises, are handing these properties on to the next generation and saying, I pre-qualified you. And it's funny when people are selling me these buildings, they aren't just saying, Brett, what's the price? They're saying, what are you going to do with it? And I really respect that. Bill Otis has come to us many times and said, Brett, that building, I would like to give you an idea on what to do there. And then that building, okay, you did a great job on that, but here's some, and that means that it's not just that's the definition of the downtown for me, is that it's something that people see as part of their passion. You know, you sell your house and you want somebody to use your house for a nice purpose next. You know, you want someone to use it to the best of their abilities because it was a part of you at some point. Well, downtown is a big part of me, and I think that you're seeing this passing of the reins, and it's really fun.
He's Bret Davis. He's shaking them up downtown. In the paper last year, we had a headline with his photo in it. One of the young bucks of Salisbury who's really making a difference. Thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of One on One right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and One on One. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.